SRP just did something that it hasn't done in a weeks. It broke to a $2 with $154 million in volume. But while everyone's celebrating on Twitter, there is a supply crisis happening that almost nobody is talking about. The exchange balance is just hit an 8-year low. So here is a caution that should be keep every SRP holders awake tonight. Are we about to witness the supply shock that sent SRP to a $3, or is this another bull trap that's going to wreck retail investors? What I'm about to show you is the next 5 minutes will they answer that question for sure. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today is January 4th, 2026, and we need to talk about what's happening with the SRP right now because of price action you are seeing on the surface and in the chart. The $2 breakout, that's only the half the story. Underneath, there is a supply dynamic forming that could change everything by the end of this video. You are going to understand exactly why exchange balance are collapsing, what January 1st unlocked the real means, and why institution money is pouring right now, and most importantly, where this SRP is realistically headed this month, and no hype, just data. And let's go, guys. All right, let's start with what's happening yesterday on January 3rd. The SRP surged from $1.87 to a $2.03. As you can see in the screen, it's $2.09. But that's an 8.7% move in the less than 24 hours. Now, if you have been watching SRP for any length of time, you know you have seen this move before. And we have tried to break the $2 multiple times over the past month. And every single time, been a fake breakout, stop runs, low volume pops that immediately get sold back down. But this time is different. And I can prove it to you with one number, the volume. When the price pushed to the $1.96, we saw a $154 million in volume. That's 142% above the session average. And that's not a retail FOMO. And that's not a say some whale playing games. That's institutional size of money entering the market at the key resistance level. Right now, I'm recording this. SRP is trading at $2.09. We pull back from $2.03. But here's what matters, that pullback was only 0.04%. We didn't back below the $2, but we didn't trigger the wave of stop loss. The structure is holding, and when we break to this resistance with the kind of volume and then hold a level, that's technical confirmation and that something real is happening. So, but the real question isn't whether we broke $2. The real question is, can we stay about $2 long enough to trigger the next leg higher? Because if you lose this level, we are right back to the 190 cent where we're going to pile on. So now let me tell you about something that happened 3 days ago. That anti-crypto community freaking out. On January 1st, Ripple unlocked 1 billion SRP on escrow. At current price, that's worth about $1.84 million. And immediately the panic started. The Reddit form filled up with a post about how the price was going to crash. The Twitter was full of people saying this is why the SRP never pumps. The supply is too high and they keep dumping on us. But here's what most people don't realize, that this happens every single month. It has been happening since 2017. The Ripple has completely predictable escrow schedule, and this unlock 1 billion SRP at the start of each month. It's automated, It's transparent. You can literally track it on the blockchain. And here's a part that nobody talks about, that they relock between 60 and 8% on it. And in December, they unlock a billion, re-escrowed 700 billions. In November, they did same thing. The NET increase in the liquidity supply is only about 2 to 300 million token per month. Now think about that in context. SRP has over 60 billion token in circulation, adding 2 to 300 million per month in less than half of the person in the market that trades billion of dollars in volume single day. Sorry guys for the last minute technical problems. So it was probably the mic. So let's where I was, and I heard the tutor, the fool people of saying this is why the SRP never jumps and that kind of stuff. But now think about has 60 billion tokens adding 2 to 3%, 100 million per month is less than half of the person. In the market that trades billion of dollar in volume every single day. That's nothing. The market absorbed it without even noticing. The January 1st unlock already happened. The token went Ripple linked wallet. Guess what? They haven't been moved. Based on historical pattern, we are probably going to see a 70 to 80% of that millions, billions to go right back into the escrow within the next week. So the actual new supply hitting the market minimal. But while everyone has panicking about supply increase, something else was happening that was nobody was paying attention to. The available supply was disappearing. So here's what most people get trapped, and I need to pay a very close attention to this because that's a difference between making money and losing money in the market. The retail investor look at the price, the institution look at the supply. But when Ripple unlocks a billion SRP, the retail sees dilution, the institution sees predictable and manageable token of distribution. When price pulls back, the retail sees a weakness and the institution sees accumulation opportunity. So while retail was panicking the January unlock, do you know what was actually happening? SRP held on exchange drop of 1.447 billion token. That's right. That's 8-year low. In the past 12 months alone, the exchange balance have fallen from over 4 billion SRP under 1.5 billion. That's 57% decrease in available supply. Now let me explain why this matters in a very in a simple way. Why SRP sits on exchange and it's liquid. It can be sold instantly, but SRP moves off exchange into a cold storage, into institution custody, into a long-term holder's wallet. It effectively removed from circulating supply. And this token isn't coming from market tomorrow. They are not coming back next week. They have been held for the month, maybe years. So you have a less SRP available to buy on exchange. You have institution money flowing to the ETF. The 30 consecutive day of inflows, 50.25 million of dollars on December. You have Ripple monthly unlocks being largely re-escrowed, adding minimal new supply, I would say. So that's how supply shock starts, lower available inventory, consistent demand, and one catalyst that triggers a rush of buying. So first we need the SRP to hold about $2 and not just touch it, but not just week about it, but we need daily close about $2 with sustained volume. If we can do that for 3 to 5 days, that confirms breakout is real. We're likely heading to the next resistance zone. Second, watch the 230 to 235 level, that's where rain into resistance back in December. If we break through this level with the same kind of volume we saw at $2 and next stop at be $2.25 to $3. That's a $3. We are talking about a level we haven't seen since 2025, maybe the October month. That's where the FOMO really kicks in. So, third, keep an eye on exchange balance, and if that number keeps dropping, and we can see more SRP moving into cold storage while institution flows continues to confirm the supply. You know, If you are holding a SRP right now, the next 60 days could define the entire year ahead. Yes, what just happened and what it actually means for your position. I'm speaking directly to the SRP holder today because there is a movement happening in the three key areas: regulatory clarity in US, institutional adoption signal, and on-chain activity that worth paying attention to. No hype, no wild predictions, just the news, the context, and what you should be watching next. And let's break it down. First, the regulatory fraud. At January 4, 2026, Ripple ongoing legal discussions with the SEC are entering a critical passage. While the major lawsuit concluded in 2023, the implementation of regulatory framework for SRP institution use is still being finalized. The key development this week is that clarity around the SRP classification for the institution on demand liquidity survey is expected within the next 30 to 60 days. So, so why does this matters? Because the institution client, the particular banks, bank and payment provider have been waiting for this green light before scaling their use of SRP for cross-border transactions. So, second institution adoption signal. The Ripple announced the expand partnership with the payment corridors in South Asia and the Middle East. Specifically, the three new financial institutions have integrated Ripple Net for cross-border settlement. While they haven't been publicly committed to the use of SRP yet. The historical this partnership have led to ODL adoption within a 6 to 12 months. The volume moving through these corridors is significant. We are talking about a billions in remittances follow annually. The SRP on chain activity has increased 18% week over week. The wallet activity is up. A larger transaction, those over 1 million SRP, have increased notably. This typically indicates the institution accumulation or preparation for liquidity deployment. So now the correlation isn't a concession, but when you see the regulatory progress, the institutional announcement on chain movement happening simultaneously, and it's worth noticing. Let's look at the positive scenario first. If regulatory clarity arrives as expected, and if this is new financial institution being used as a for an on-demand liquidity, we could see a sustainable buying pressure from the actual utility and not speculation. So this is different from retail hype cycle. The institution ODL usage being consistent. The programmatic buying of SRP for facilitate transaction that create a baseline for demand. So friends, additionally, if the US regulatory environment stabilizes for SRP, other institutions that have been sitting on the sidelines may enter the market. So we have seen the pattern before. The clarity leads to the confidence, and confidence leads to the adoption. So from a technical standpoint of view, the SRP has been consolidating in the range for the weeks. If volume increases with the positive news catalyst, a breakout is possible. But let me clear, this will be driven by a fundamental, not by empty promises. So now the other side. Regulatory clarity isn't guaranteed on any timeline we have seen days before. If this expected announcement don't materialize in 60 days, or if you have less favorable than anticipated, it could be lead to disappointment, short-term selling pressure. The second is the institution partnership don't automatically mean the SRP search. Some institutions use RippleNet without ODL. The actual conversion rate from the partnership announcement to SRP utility has historically been mixed. The third is on-chain activity can be misleading. The increase in transaction could be accumulation or they could be repositioning before a sell-off without knowing the intent behind the wallet. It's data, not uncertainty. And finally, the broader crypto market is still volatile, even with the positive SRP, specific news, and micro condition. The Bitcoin movement and regulatory action in other jurisdictions can impact the priority for fundamental. So SRP is genuinely interesting in positioning right now. There's a real potential fundamental growth driven by the institutional adoption and regulatory progress, but it's not guaranteed. It won't happen overnight. If you're looking at SRP, the next 60 days are worth watching closely, not with anxiety, but with attention, and the monitoring the regulatory announcement. Watch the follow through this partnership. Keep an eye on whether on-chain activity continues or fade. So this is a period where news actually matters more than speculation. My advice: don't make emotional decisions based on daily price action. Focus on the fundamental. If the utility is case trend, and that's your signal. If it stalls, then tells you something too. If you're focused on SRP and want analysis like this without hype and subscription, and I cover the SRP development as they happen with the context and not clickbait. Thanks for watching and stay sharp, stay informed. And I'll see you next one, guys.